Hey everybody, Scott Carson here with your note term of the day. And your note term of the day today is, what does last paid mean? When you get a spreadsheet, or we call it in the industry a tape from a note seller, there will be different columns on there. What's owed, borrower's name, property address, the unpaid balance when the loan was originated, and then you will see next due and then last paid date. All right. Now, if it's a performing note, the last pay date would be the most recent month. The next due would be next month's. But in a non-performing note, these two dates can really kind of screw you up a little bit. So let's say a borrower is 6 months behind and we're sitting here in February 2022. So they may say next due. All right, last pay. They may have made a payment in January, but if they say next due and it's 6 months ago, it may say July of 2021. Well, what does that mean? Where's this last 6? Well, that just means that they're 6 months behind. So a bank or a servicing company, when it receives a payment from a borrower, they will always put the full next due or the full payment to the most late month. Okay, they're not going to put it towards this current month. All right, because then you're basically allowing that borrower just to get it back on track. And you're basically not really forgiving them, but you're not really allowing you the opportunity to go back and chase the last 6 months. So next due in a non-performing note will often be months before, depending on how many months behind from the most recently paid. Okay, so like I said, they made a payment for February 2022, but you see next due is 6 months later or earlier. You know that borrower is 6 months behind. Now, one thing to keep in mind is if you are accepting payments and a borrower is getting caught back up, that's okay. You always put it towards the furthest payment. Now, if a borrower is paying extra per month, $100 or $200 extra per month, that extra percentage will not be applied to the late fees or the late payments until a full payment is received. So if their payment is $400 a month and a borrower pays $500 a month, it will take them 4 months in a row or 4 or 5 months in a row before that extra adds up to an extra full payment, and then it's applied to the latest month. All right, or the next latest month after that, the payment they made goes to the latest month. So that's one thing to keep in mind, especially if you're looking at a tape that's older than 90 days or an older list. Make sure you get those information. Now, if it's a performing note, the next due will be the next month. The most recent pay will be the previous month. That's okay. That's basically a performing note. But a non-performing note, there's always going to be a bit of difference. So don't let that psych you out. Oh my God, the next due is 6 months ago. Where's well, they haven't paid. You know, if they did pay this month, they're trying to get caught back up and they're making extra. So that's one thing to look in your due diligence is the next pay to the next due date and determining how many months your borrower's behind. I'll tell you this, if you see a borrower that hasn't made a payment in a year and they're over a year behind, they're probably not going to be a modification. It's probably going to be a foreclosure or a deed in lieu on that aspect of things. And one thing to make sure is if they have started making payments, you see a very recent payment, but they're still 6 to 12 months behind, you want to make sure and talk to the seller to see if they have done a loan modification or a forbearance plan or a trial payment plan. And there should be documents that outline that as well in your collateral. So, hey, are you allowing the borrower to make payments? Now, one thing here is very important. If you do not want the borrower, if you want to foreclose on an asset, you do not want to accept any payments. You accept any payment to the court, it shows that, oh, you're letting the borrower get caught back up. If you want to get rid of a borrower and then they make a payment, a partial payment to you, because they're really supposed to pay the full 12 months to reinstate the loan, you have the right as a lender not to accept any payments unless it's the full amount back due once you send a demand letter out. So we've actually, when a borrower came to the table and thought they were going to make a monthly payment to avoid foreclosure, we sent the payment back and said, no, full year is due. We are not accepting any partial payments or any monthly payments unless it's a full amount of back due. Now, if they do pay that, then it's a reperforming note. You can't foreclose because they brought the loan to current. But if they don't, you as a lender have the right to return that payment and say, no, it's not the full amount that's due. We're not accepting anything unless the full amount due to help you in your foreclosure process. Because if you do, that's a sign to the court that, oh, you accepted their money. You have to let them stay and let them get caught back up. So that's one big thing that you don't want to do. So that's your end date or next due date is look at those numbers, identify them, and it'll give you an answer. Hey, is that borrower performing or non-performing? One thing that we look forward to, especially when we're buying non-performing notes in a portfolio, if we see a borrower that's made a payment in the last 6 to 12 months, that's usually a sign that they want to try to stay in the house of some sort, and we're willing to work with them. So it can be a really good opportunity for you to potentially get that bar back on track and do a performing or reperforming note. So that's your note term of the day. What does next do?